Hello class. Most of you know me. I'm Dr. Vicki Wenzel and I am going to teach your OB class this semester and I am all excited. I hope you are too. OB can be fun. It can also be a lot of work because this is a whole different area than you've ever done before. Taking care of OB patients is way different. They're mostly healthy or they have chronic illnesses or something. But anyway, you'll learn all that stuff. Right now, what I'd like to do is go over your syllabus with you, and we'll go from there. So if you haven't printed your syllabus yet, or if you haven't brought it up on your computer screen, please do so, and we will talk about it as we go. And you can take some notes, because I have lots of notes for you. Okay. So at the very beginning of your syllabus is my name. Also, both of my phone numbers, my cell phone and my office number. Monday through Thursday, call my cell or my office number first because I'll be here, I think. I should be anyway. And if it's a Friday, I do clinical with some of you on Friday, so I'm not sure I'll be here Friday mornings all the time, but I might. So you could try my office or do my cell phone. And you can send me an email, you can text, you can call. My phone goes with me almost all over the place, so I get my emails right away and everything. Okay. My email is also on there. You can also email me, which works out well. Okay, just want to make sure we can hear this thing. Let's see. Email. The location of our class is going to be in the nursing lab classroom, so that is Olin 17B. It will be Monday and Wednesday class from 8 to 9:40. I know that's early, but we'll get there, and it'll be okay. We'll do it together. We'll have lots of coffee, right? Because we all like coffee. It is an 8-week long, and it's for both sessions are 8-week long, but you'll do OB 8 weeks, and the next week you'll do PEDS, and we'll just flip-flop your classes. It is actually 3 credit hours. You get 1 credit hour for clinical and 2 for your theory. And the prerequisites, you've probably all got them or you wouldn't be where you are right now, so we aren't going to go over those. I'm also not going to go over the course description and the program learning outcomes. Please look at those so you know what they are, and the course objectives, which are on page 2. Okay, and of course the course objectives are again on 3 and part of 4. What I'd like you to do for required material is, of course, I've told you this all through your last couple of years, you need this book, APA Manual, 6th edition. This is a good book to have. That's that book for your APA. And then our book for class is going to be this one, okay? Maternal Child Nursing Care. It is by Ward and Hisley. It is the 2nd edition, okay? You do not need the access code for me unless you absolutely want it. The access code has lots of good resources, and I like the access codes if you can find a book for that, but you don't need it for this, but you do need the book, okay? You also need to have Nursing Central web-based learning application. I think most of you have that. You also need to have reference point software, which I think most of you should have had that already also. The other thing that you're going to need, and it is on page 4 in your syllabus, is the vSim. It is a web-based simulation that you will take as part of your clinical. And there is a URL in there for you to go in and buy it. When you go to get it, make sure you get the maternal and the pediatric simulations together in one program. Don't buy them separately because they cost about twice as much that way. Buy the 2 together because you will use them both. One this first 8 weeks and one the second 8 weeks. Okay. Nebraska Wesleyan's commitment to students with disability is here. I know you guys have seen this. If you feel like you need an accommodation to get through whatever exams or classes or whatever, please see Sandy McBride, and she is in Old Main, room 126. Her phone number is on here, and so is her Wesleyan email. She is the coordinator for the services for students with disabilities. Title IX, if any of you feel unsafe on campus, feel you're being harassed, feel you're being bullied, you can come to me and talk to me, and we will figure it out confidentially. There are also a whole bunch of confidential resources on page 5, right down in here, and part of page 6 in your syllabus. Please look those over. call whoever you need to. There's even like a 24-hour crisis line if you think you need that. That is off campus. So please use your resources if you feel like you need to. Academic integrity. Wesleyan is really big on that, and so am I. So the plagiarism, cheating on exams, I look for that stuff. So please don't do that. Plagiarism is a huge thing. Make sure and cite and reference everything. Okay. Student assignment submission. Students are required to submit an electronic copy of written assignments. Electronic copies of presentations may be requested by faculty members. Electronic versions of papers and presentations will be stored for 3 years. They can also, and then they'll be destroyed after 3 years. They can also be reviewed by nursing program accreditation visitors. So somebody that comes out like from CCNE to accredit our program may want to look at them, and they can. You will have an electronic portfolio submission in this class, and that will be, it's called a preclinical assignment, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, so don't worry about it right now. But that will go into your e-portfolio. Okay. All students at Wesleyan, I know you know this, should have a Wesleyan email account. Anything you use like a Gmail account or a Hotmail or whatever doesn't work with the Wesleyan email account, and the only way I know how to get a hold of you is through email. So you have to have a Wesleyan email account, which I think most of you do. Wesleyan is full of computers for your use, so if something happens to your computer, please know that you have to be on campus or to use the computers, and you may. Don't come and tell me that your assignment's late because your computer is in the shop. That doesn't work. You can come to campus and do that, and that's what we expect you to do. There's a little ditty on recording in the classroom. I don't usually let students do that, but if there's a really good reason and you let me know, that'll be okay. You will not be using your electronic devices in class unless I tell you to pull out your computer, and your cell phone should be off during class. Okay? I don't want to compete with a cell phone. You will not be taking notes on your computer. If I have a PowerPoint that we're going over, I will have a PowerPoint for you to print and bring to class. I just think taking notes is such a good way to learn things. It cements it into your brain, so that's what I want you to do. The library databases are good for any paperwork that you have to do, and you'll have some this semester, which you probably knew that before, okay? There's a new one that Martha Tana got specifically for OB classes. It's called ACOG, and it's the American Academy of Gynecologists or something. But anytime any OB unit changes anything, they use ACOG for that. So they're going to have your most up-to-date references, and we have that in our library now. So that's a good thing for you. Attendance in class, I need you to come to class. You know, you might think OB is going to be fun, you're going to have a good time, and you're not going to miss anything if you miss a class, but you will. There's a lot of stuff in OB, and it's not just OB, labor and delivery, let's have a baby, let's do postpartum, let's take our cute little baby home. There's a lot of other things that go with maternal child, such as STDs and birth control and ethical considerations and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things. And the other thing is, you've never dealt with anything like OB before unless you've worked in an OB unit. So these women and their families are fairly healthy. They have some chronic illnesses, but they're fairly healthy. So they're not like the very sick patients that you're going to see in the ICU or even in the hospital. So I do expect you to be there. If you miss just one day of an 8-week course, you've missed like 2 class periods. So you miss a lot, and we go through a lot of stuff every week, okay? Repeated tardiness and absenteeism will be reflected in your course grade, and you all know that we fill out that SAS rubric at the end of the semester where I look at if you were late for class at all, if you missed class at all, okay? We'll talk about that when we get to the SAS rubric. There are no excused absences for this class. Attendance and participation are considered key elements. Okay, so please come to class. Let's see, written assignments, they are to be typed, double-spaced, and proofread prior to admission. Make sure you pick up all those little things like it was their camping ground, and that's a THEIR, not a THERE, so make sure you pick up that kind of stuff. you have to do APA guidelines on all of your written assignments. Assignments turned in late after the due date will be deduction of 5% per day. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is the SAS rubric. Okay. I want you to look at page 2 because there's a couple things I want to point out to you. On page 2, in the second to the last part on the grid where it talks about professional behavior, over in the very last box, which is I think that's 0 points in that box. Let me look. Yes. It says if a student was late or left early 3 times or absent from one class, then you'll notice you get a 0 in that for that little thing. And then if you notice down at the bottom, like right down here, there is also a little yellowed spot that says missing 2 class periods will result in an additional deduction of 5 points. And remember, there are no excused absences, okay? So the other thing I want to point out is the very last box. It says completion of course and instructor evaluations. If you do your SAS rubric, but you don't do your NPCE, you lose points for the SAS rubric. You don't get all your points for that, okay? You have to do both. Okay. The next page, top of page 11, is your course assessment. So there's all your grades, and you guys have been looking at this through your whole 3 years. You need a final grade of C to progress in the program or to graduate. Okay. There's a little bit different thing with the exams this semester. And some of it's still the same. During administration of exam, all personal belongings must be placed against the wall in the classroom. No hats or caps may be worn during the exam. Faculty will not answer questions during the exam regarding the content, so please don't raise your hand and ask me if you don't understand a question. I'm not going to be able to help you. No cell phones, calculators, or wearable technology will be allowed during the exam unless I say, yes, you can have a calculator. But you can't have a cell phone calculator, but you can have a calculator. Okay? Wearable technology, your Apple Watches have to be off your wrist and in your backpack. Anything that can get to the internet has to go. Okay? Students are expected to take exams as scheduled by their instructor. Students arriving late to exams cause disruption, disturbing concentration of those students who arrive on time. Therefore, students are expected to be in their seats in the testing room, ready to start the exam at the scheduled exam start time. Students who are late to the exam will not be permitted to enter the exam room and be marked absent from the exam. So if I've closed the doors and students have started and you walk in a minute late, I'm not going to let you take the exam. You're going to have to do it some other time. Okay? Students missing an exam are required to contact the faculty to schedule the exam retake. So if you're late and I send you home or I say you can't take the exam, you have to contact me to make up that exam. Rescheduling exams will be done based upon the availability of the exam proctor. So if you go home because you were late and didn't take the exam and you text me later and you say, can I do this exam at 4 o'clock today when I get done with my classes? If I can do that, I will. But if I can't because I've got another meeting or something else, I'll have to say, nope, we can do it tomorrow, but you still get the 5% deduction. Okay? Let's see. Rescheduling will be done based upon the availability of exam proctors. Students will not be permitted to miss class or clinical in order to make up an exam. There will be a 5% deduction in the final grade for the exam for each day the exam is late. So if you're 2 days late in taking that exam, you'll get a 10% deduction. Students who are absent from the exam because of illness are expected to notify the faculty via email prior to the start of the exam. A note from student health or their physician verifying illness is required. This note must be given to the course instructor on the first day the student returns to class. So if you're sick on a Monday when we take our exam, and I think most of our exams on Monday, if you're sick on that Monday and on Monday evening you text me and say, I'm feeling better, can I take my exam on Tuesday? I need that physician note or student health note before you take your exam, when you come in to take the exam. Okay? Let's see. The instructor reserves the right to administer an alternative exam covering the same content to students taking the exam at a later time. Makeup test exams are quizzes. If a student takes a test outside of the scheduled time, this will be considered a make-up test. This test must be made up within 1 week of the original scheduled time. Failure to do so will result in a 0 for the test. See test exam policy above. A student may miss 1 test without penalty. See exam policy for deductions, as long as the test is made up. If the student misses more than 1 test, the test may be made up, but the maximum score allowed is an 80% plus deductions. Okay? See above exam policy. Any further makeup tests are at a maximum of 50% plus deductions. Okay? Exam policy. Traditional BSN students are required to achieve an exam average of 75%. If this average is not achieved, the traditional BSN student will automatically fail the course. When 75% or higher exam average is not attained, the grade entered for the course will be the exam average score. Okay? Kaplan testing is just like we've done it before. I'll let you read this. Hang on just a sec.
I know I'm going to rotate you. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
I'm so glad it's over.
Oof.
It was scary.
It was scary.
It was a long 2 years.
You got it?
I
You got
did.
it done.
I did.
I'm jealous. I shouldn't say that, but I
It won't be long, and it'll be all done before you know it.
Good for you. Good to see you.
I'll talk to you later. Sorry about that little interruption, but I'm not going to restart this because we're halfway through. So we're just going to keep going. If you guys didn't like that, you could just slide right through it. Okay, Kaplan testing. We're going to do Kaplan the same way we've done it in the past. You will make a focused exam with 2 hours of looking up questions and answering them for yourself in OB. You may do that focused exam twice. You can do it twice, knowing that I will use the highest grade that you get. Okay? And if you look at this policy, the focused review exams for 75 points is if you get 94 and above on your focused exam. If you get an 88 to 93, you get 50 points. 82 to 87, you get 25 points. Anything below 82, you get 0 points. Okay? The Kaplan exam score itself is 25 points, and I'll have to look to see what their median, their national mean for the exam is. But if you get above the national mean, or you meet it, you'll get 25 points. Any less than the national mean, you get 0 points. Okay? Also, if you score below the mean and you receive that 0, you have an option to at least earn 5 points if you do 1 further hour of remediation. So that'll be up to you guys if you want those extra 5 points. The student assessment and grades are right here. So you'll see you have 4 exams in OB and a Kaplan exam. So that's like exams 5 weeks out of 8. Okay? So that's a lot of exams to look forward to. Or not look forward to. You will do a reflective journal every week. You will do a preclinical assignment, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. At the end, you will do an oral presentation, the Kaplan exam, and then your SAS rubric, which includes your NPCE. Okay? Students must satisfactorily complete 45 hours of clinical. Missed clinical days will require makeup and will be rescheduled on the calendar. And I already have a scheduled makeup day for us. It will be October 9th. I've got the calendar at the end. We'll look at it a little closer. If a student does not pass clinical, he or she will receive a grade of F for the course and must repeat the entire course, including theory and clinical. Okay? And it says refer to the clinical syllabus, and we've got that. We're going to talk about it. So this is your rubric for your reflective journal. You will do one of these each week for class. Okay? On something in the material that stood out to you, that you learned, something about that. We have class on Monday and Wednesday. This will be due by Friday at 23:59. And all you're going to do is answer these questions. It's like one little page. You have to use the APA. If you quote anything out of the book or whatever, you have to cite it and reference it. What did you learn? What was it significant? What is important? What is important to me as a nurse? So think about why did you learn this? What is it important for you to know as a nurse? Okay, now that you're aware of this new information, how will I use it in my practice? So I don't want to see that you learned to start an IV. As a senior, you should have already started some IVs. I want you to see something new, like maybe you ran Pitocin. That would be something new for an OB patient because you've never ever used Pitocin before, okay? And what questions do you have for me as an instructor? Okay. Maximum page length is 1 page, but I'm not going to grade you if you go over by 2, go do 1 or 2 or 3 pages. That's okay, but you can keep it short. I, if it was me, would follow these headings and even make headings on your little paper so I know you've got everything in there that you want. That is the way I would do that. The next part of your syllabus is your preclinical assignment that we talk about. It's really named wrong. The last 2 times I taught this class, we had the students get this all done ahead of time. We are not going to do that this time, before they even got to clinical, which I think was a lot of extra burden on the students. So this preclinical assignment will be done as we go over things in class. So when we go over list 5 warning signs of preterm labor, I expect you to have this filled out, okay? I will collect these every week. I want to see them, and I want to see what you've gotten done on them so I can start grading them as we go. They're 10 pages full of information. That's why we're going to look at them as we go. And maybe you don't have to hand it in every week, but I want you to hand it in at least once in a while. And if you want to hand it in on a Monday and I can give it back to you on a Wednesday, that would be great, and I would do that for you, okay? So if you hand it in on a Monday after the last week with any information, and you won't even actually have to start this till we get into more OB stuff, because the first week we do things like ethical considerations, STDs, condoms, birth control, that kind of stuff, and that stuff is not on here. This is just for when you're in labor, delivery, postpartum, and nursery, okay? So the other thing in here that it's going to tell you to do, and I don't know how you've done it in the past, but you are to make medication cards for each of these medications. Hopefully some you have done already, because you should have been making medication cards ahead of time. The medication cards come to clinical with you. And I don't care if you want to do recipe cards for your medication cards, or if you want to do a spreadsheet for your medications. I don't care how you do it. You bring them to clinical and you let your instructor look at them while you're at clinical when she's got a few free minutes, and you use them to study with, and you use them to know what they're doing. Remember, when you're doing this, we're doing things for a different reason. Like when you have a baby that gets, what could a baby get that you might have? Anyway, whatever you have, remember that you're doing it for OB and babies, so you want to know, like if you're giving Procardia to a pregnant mom, why are we giving her Procardia? What is Procardia? It's a blood pressure med, right? Okay. We are not usually giving the mom Procardia for a blood pressure med. She gets it for preterm labor. So I want to know, why is the mom getting this medication? Okay, or why is the baby getting this medication? What is the dose for a mom that's pregnant to get Procardia? What's a normal dose? What are the side effects this mom can expect? Okay, so you have to think a little bit outside the box and not use this as patient stuff. So remember, your med cards come with you to clinical. There are a lot of them, but like I said, some of them you may have already done from doing all your others. Okay. And I think that's it on this one. This one is actually due for a grade at the end of the semester, but like I said, I want you to hand it in probably once a week. Make sure your name's on it, and I will go over things. It needs to be written either in pen or pencil. You'll probably have some changes to make as I go through it. So if it was me, I'd probably do it in pencil. Your writing has to be legible. I have to be able to read it. If I can't read it, you're going to have to redo the whole thing so I can read it. Okay? Then at the very end, the very last week of class will be oral presentations. They're down here, the ones you can choose from. This tells you what you're going to do. I will have a sign-up sheet the first week of class. You will sign up for what you want with your one partner. At the end of the week, I want you to have, or at the end of the semester, you are going to talk about this, teach us in class. You can do however you want to teach us, except you cannot sit up there and read everything off of paper. I want you to teach us about what you've got here, okay? Okay, presentations shouldn't be longer than 15 minutes. So there is also a grading rubric here that we will use. So I will use this too. It's in your syllabus. The next few pages you're going to find are your calendar. Looks like this. So you can look through that. The big thing I want to point out to you is that on August 25th and August 27th, we will tour labor and delivery from 4 to 5. You only have to come one day, but we will do a tour of labor and delivery, postpartum, nursery, even though they don't usually really need their nursery, and maybe a little NICU. I'm not really sure about the NICU and the OR rooms up there. So you have to be at one of those. You will wear your scrubs, okay, when you do the tour. You don't have to wear your scrubs all day, but you have to wear them up to do the tour, okay? And then the rest of them, the class dates are in here. Your preclinical assignment is on here. On Wednesday of that first week, you will have your math test. You have to get a 90% on that math test, okay? If you don't pass it the first time, you'll have some remediation, and then you can do it again. So you can actually try up to 3 times. If you don't pass it in 3 times with a 90%, you fail the class, okay? So just so you know that. The second week is another little tricky week because September 2nd, which is Monday, is Labor Day, so we will not have class. So everything will be kind of shoved into September 4th, which is one day that week. And your class reflections will be due for this week. You'll start those this week. Okay? So this is just your theory calendar. And then at the very end of that, you have all of these sheets that look like this. These are just your required readings, outlines, what we're talking about. Topic outlines. Okay, next in your syllabus, you're going to see the clinical syllabus. And I'm sure you've all seen this, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time going over it, but we are going to go over some of it. Talks about what you can and can't do in clinical. Just make sure your instructor is with you, or she knows that you're doing something. If you're going to give a med with one of the nurses, that's great. I just need to know that you're doing that, okay? There are some clinical expectations and our evaluation methods. I talked to Tricia Jensen, will be our other instructor for OB this semester. And her and I had a long talk today, and it sounds like the clinical evaluations are pretty much the same as you've had for every clinical, so you guys know about them. You'll get a midterm and a final evaluation from either Tricia or me, depending on who you're with. Okay. Let's see. If you get more than 2 unsatisfactory marks in this course, it will result in a course failure for the clinical portion. More than 8 hours of clinical absence during any course with the clinical component may result in course failure or an incomplete of the course. Okay. If you do not pass clinical, the student will receive a grade of F for the whole course. That means your theory and everything. Okay. There will be self-reflections. Besides doing your care map, there will be a self-reflection that you will do each week that you will hand in to either me or Tricia. And we talked about the math test. You will follow the dress code. Okay, so please look the dress code up before you come the first time to class. Even when we do our VSEM, you will come in your dress, in your scrubs. And when we do our clinical simulation, you will come in your scrubs. Okay. You will have a concept map required for each. Well, we just want a week for one patient, okay? So if you get 2 or 3 patients in one evening, you'll only be required to do 1. The concept map is a little different than you've seen. It will be on your course Canvas site, and we will go over that the first day in class just so you can understand it. So that's required for just 1 assigned patient. Like I said, your instructor will pick out the assigned patient if you get more than 1 patient. And let's see. Anything else I want to really tell you? I do have 1 makeup day assigned in case you miss a class, but try not to. The makeup day is October 9th, and that's a Wednesday. So both the Friday class and the Wednesday class will do all their makeups on October 9th. So if we happen to have somebody miss it, You'll also do one clinical simulation, and we are going to do that at the beginning of the semester in the first week. We have new high fidelity simulators. And so Noelle is new, and she's high fidelity, and she births a baby, and she postpartum hemorrhages, and she does lots of little things that we love her to do. So that will be a learning experience. Both Tricia and I will be there for that thing, and you will do that here on campus in our nursing lab. Okay? You will do them on your day, though. So if you're scheduled for clinical on a Wednesday, we will do that nursing simulation on a Wednesday. If you're scheduled for clinical on a Friday, we will do nursing simulation on a Friday. Okay? No cell phone usage for personal calls allowed during the simulation experience. Okay. And there's a few things in here about preparation for it, but nothing really big. I think you guys have all seen this. This is your clinical evaluation. We will fill this out, Tricia and I, through the whole semester. And that's kind of long. Did I get done with that? Yes. And your midterm evaluations will also be in there. Brian, as we speak, is making up packets. You will all have a packet that we will take and then hand back to you when we're done with it. Okay. Then, this is your self-reflection template, and it will also on your Canvas site. So this is what you'll fill out for me. Okay. And then this is what your schedules are going to look like, and you've already seen them. I posted them last week, last semester. We made a couple changes, like on October 4th, which was a Friday. We had our VSIM scheduled for the Friday group, and now we will do October 2nd. We will put both groups together because October 4th, there was something that went out about no school and no classes on October 4th. Okay, because I think they're inducting Dr. Good or something. I'm not really sure what they're doing, but there won't be any school or classes on October 4th. So we will do our VSIM on Wednesday, October 2nd. And I already told you that our makeup day will be October 9th. And I think that's it for this clinical. So this clinical and this theory class. I'm really excited for us to get started. I hope you are too. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in a few weeks.